Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar today on finding online resources for your do-it-yourself projects. My name is Michaela and I work in the Reader Services Division here at the National Library. In today's talk, we will be focusing on the eResources collection that we have here at the National Library that could be useful for your do-it-yourself projects at home. What we'll look at today is how to search for car manuals, recipes, knitting patterns, gardening tips, etc. These are just a small sample and hopefully you can use the skills that you learn here today to search for a variety of other do-it-yourself projects. I'll also run through searching the catalogue and how that way people who aren't located here in Canberra, I'll explain how you can access our physical collection. So the webinar will cover a wide range of resources, but there will be question breaks, as Judith mentioned, but please ask any questions through the Q&A box as we move along that Judith pointed out earlier. The session's quite in-depth on our National Library eResources. We have webinar recordings of previous sessions that probably are slightly more introductory. And at the end of this session, I'll run through where you can find those so you can go back and have a look at those as well. So what I'm going to do now is turn off the camera so I can focus on the presentation. So here we go. So what we'll be covering today are some of these e-resources that we have that you can see on your screen. So Press Reader, Haynes Manuals, and EBSCO ebooks. Through how to sign up for a National Library card. So you don't need a library card to explore the website, catalogue or Trove. You do, however, need a card in order to access, to request material within our reading rooms and also to have a look at some of our licensed resources. So even if you live far away from the library building here in Canberra, I would encourage you to get a card with us for that 4% that don't listen in today. So we'll just head to the National Library homepage. So getting a library card is quite easy. So you'll see here the National Library homepage with the little banner across the top. And if we just head to using the library in the top here, get a library card. And all we need to do here is apply, filling in some details. What you see here is just a pickup, and that's because I'm situated here in the building, but from home you'll also see a one to have it posted out to you. And so that generally takes around 10 days and that'll arrive with you. So. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is head to the eResources portal, and that's located just underneath the catalogue here. So we're just going to head into that eResource portal. And so what you should see now on your screen is that portal there. So the National Library's digital collections are vast and diverse. They contain billions of digital files, totaling nearly 5 million gigabytes, and include archived websites, audio, video recordings, digital photographs, personal archives, ebooks, journals, newspapers, and much more. So this portal here is where we hold a variety of electronic collection resources, such as full text journals, newspapers, ebooks, dictionaries, and of course the all-time favourites, the family history databases. So the eResources are broken up into 3 categories, and you can just see them listed here across the middle of your screen. So we have the freely available resources, so anyone can access those from wherever they are. And these are things that have been recommended to us by the librarians or by some of our users here. The licensed resources, symbolised with the key icon there, they're subscription databases that we've purchased here for use by those outside of the library. And it's just a matter of logging in to the top here, the login, so your user ID, that really long number on the back of your card, and then your family name. We do have a small amount of on-site resources, and that's with the National Library icon. These can only be accessed here physically whilst in the building, but we won't go too much into those. So the eResource portal is where you go to access a specific database. the portal doesn't search within the databases for you. You have to go into those databases and search from there. And you can just see we've got that little message for you down here in the search box. There's a few different ways to go in. So if you know exactly what you're looking for, you could search the title of that particular database within that box and hit go. Or you can see in the middle here, we have a browse by category. And so you can go in there and you can click on, let's say, newspapers, and you can see, break it down by jurisdiction and have a look at what's available there. So there's a few different ways. You can also click, these are hyperlinks as well. So the freely available, you can click on that and see a list, and the licensed resources, you can also see a list, or if you'd like, you can see a full A to Z list across the top as well, and that'll bring up all the resources that are available to you. A little handy hint, we've got research guides just across the bottom here that will help you with certain things, and I'll show you a couple of those as we work through. And then also all journals. So this sort of helps those that are looking up material. It takes you straight to the larger database that you can search within. So today we're going to be focusing on specific e-resources, and they were the ones that we saw on our screen earlier, and that's Press Reader, Haynes Manuals, and EBSCO eBooks. So we'll start by looking at Press Reader. So because I know that I want to look at Press Reader, I'm just going to go straight in and search for that. So here in the library, I don't need to be logged in. I can easily access this from here. At home, as I mentioned, it's that long number on the back of your card, the 217 number, and then your family name, and then that'll allow you access. So I'm just going to click in, accept, and visit the site. So Press Reader provides access to over 7,000 newspapers, magazines and periodicals in 60 languages from more than 120 countries. There's a strong Australian content. It's fantastic for magazines, which is what we're going to look at now, because it looks like you're actually looking at that physical copy. And the titles here are archived for the previous 3 months. So let's navigate to the 3 bars. I like to call it the hamburger. So we'll go to that and we'll head to publications. So you can see here quite a lot of publications listed, and you can just scroll through quite a few titles that are very popular. But you can also scroll by and search by categories. So you can see down here some of the things we'll be covering today, so that might be of interest. There's things like craft and hobbies, food and drinks, home and garden, etc. So you can see there's a few different ways to search with that. And as I mentioned before, we do have a list of countries, your languages, etc. So we'll go back into publication tabs. So let's go into craft and hobbies and see what we can find here. So you can see quite a lot listed here. One that catches my eye just then was Crochet World. I have quite the fascination with tea towels and crocheting the little handle on those, or crocheting them from scratch. So that's why that caught my eye. But let's have a look. So you can see here, we've got a couple of different ways to view this. We've got the page view, or if you prefer, there's the text view, which will give you the stories there. Just head back to page view, and then you can just scroll your way through the articles. So some great craft ideas here. And here we go to the Spring Cottage kitchen set. Now, what you can do whilst in here, we can print. So you can see the little icon that's come up at the bottom here, the little dots. If we click on that, we can select what we're looking for and we can hit the print. You can also save it to your collection, and that's just by signing in or creating and registering for a sign-on. That's free, and that just allows you to save things to a collection and come back and look at them at a later date. A few other options that we've got is you can listen. So this allows you to have audio and listen to the actual articles. You can download it to your device as well. We also have, I'll just draw your attention to the little search tab we have across the top. So you can also use the advanced search to have a look for some publications. So I'm going to change it to any time rather than just the last few days, or publications, and I'm going to look for take a second or so and that should come back. Okay, so here we go. Here's a lovely pattern for some cotton dishcloth. So there's a few different ways to search through PressReader. And as you saw, when we head back into the publications, there's quite a few different ones there, and they're quite popular and quite well known and fairly recent. Most of these are up to date. So, you know, if there's any database that I would suggest having a play with, this is one of our better ones. So what I might do is have a quick break for any questions that we might have. Judith, do we have any questions?
No, nothing's cropped up as yet. Looks like you covered everything, everyone.
I'm either covering everything or everyone's too shy to be asking a question.
Feel free to add any questions you do have. If we can't get to them in the next couple of breaks, we will try and get to them at the end of the session.
Okay, so.
Oh, actually,
we have a question?
Before you move on, we did have one. Jennifer would like to know, do the items you save stay forever?
Unfortunately not, no. The archive is only for the last 3 months, so they won't stay for all time. I believe it's only for a week or so, but we can double check that. But if you find a article that you're interested in, like you want to go home while you're at home, obviously, and start making those dishcloths, then you can print that or save that to a device, and that'll then make sure that you have it for all time.
We did have one more question crop up. You mentioned creating collections. Could you explain how to create a collection, please?
Yep, we'll just go back in. I think it prompts you, if I remember correctly. I started creating some collections at home while I was looking at this. So we'll just pick that one there. And when you click on the 3 little bars here, we can add to my publication. And so because I'm not signed in, what's going to happen here is it's going to be asking me to sign in. So if you haven't signed in, you can sign up, and then what it'll do is it'll ask you to name that collection, and then you can add as many as you like to there. It'll ask you whether you want to make this available to other groups. You can make it a private collection, and that's your personal collection to look at. So I hope that sort of answers that question.
That does.
So we'll go back to the eResource portal, and the next database we're going to look at, we're going to go from cooking and art and knitting, etc., to a new database that the library has that it now provides access to, and that's Haynes Manuals. So we're going to go to some car and motorcycle manuals now. So I know the name is Haynes. Here it is, Haynes Manuals All Access. So the search is pretty straightforward in here. It's a fantastic resource to find your car and motorcycle manuals, repair and maintenance guides, wiring diagrams, and much more. It covers a wide range of makes and models and dates, with new manuals being added as made available by the providers. These resources are invaluable if you're restoring an older car, or just if you have an interest in general in cars or motorcycles. So there's a few different ways to search Haynes. So we can use, I might just refresh this page because it's showing up strange. So it's a few different ways. So we can search clicking on the cars here, and you can see all the car badges, I suppose we could call them. And then also the motorcycles just across here. Back on this home page, it looks like their main screen, they're having some difficulties. So normally you can search the car and then it'll ask you to prompt. It's a drop down box. Unfortunately this time we can't see that, but we still can get in. So we'll just go in by the secondary method. So I was unsure whether I should do a Holden or a Ford, but I didn't want to offend anyone. So I went for the safe method, and I thought we would look at Toyota and go the Toyota Corolla. So you can see here is a list of all their vehicles. We'll head to Corolla. So the latest ones they've got on board is the engine size from 2007 to 2015. So if we click on that, and just click on the manual. Okay. So a few things that I'll sort of talk about here is that will come in quite handy are things like your windshield wiper blade inspection and replacement. So you can, this is actually a video. And that'll actually show you how to do it and which ones you should be looking for. So I think that's a fantastic thing. Tyre and tyre pressure checks. I know that every time I go to the service station, I always think, now what should I be inflating my tyres? What should that be? So this is a great thing to go and have a look and check that. And then you can see quite a few other different videos or just how-tos. For a variety of things. So we'll just open up one that isn't a video. So we'll just go into the tyre and tyre pressure checks. So you can see here step-by-step guide down the middle here. And you can also print. So you can see the little print just in the top of your screen here. And there it is there, and you can just print that. Go back to, so we'll have a look at an older vehicle. As I sort of mentioned that you can do restoration. So we'll go into Ford and let's have a look at the Mustang. So here we are, the 64 to 1970. It's a beauty there. So you can see here, it's a restoration guide. So this will help you through, starting with what is a restoration. And you can see it goes through quite a few things there. Now I've shown a couple of cars, but as I did mention, we also have motorcycles. And it's the same thing. So we'll go into Aprilia. We can have a look at those there. So it doesn't, the database doesn't include every make and model. So if you are after a specific manual and it's not available through Haynes, you may need to search for it in our catalogue or via Trove. And one little quirky fact that I came across about Haynes, probably about a month ago, Mr. Haynes actually passed away, and they had his obituary in the paper. And even though we don't have these in our collection, Mr. Haynes actually wrote some manuals out there for the Star Wars fans, the Millennium Falcon, so you can repair that. The Star Trek fans, the USS Enterprise, and for those Doctor Who fans, he wrote a manual on how to repair the Dalek. So not in our collection, but they are out there, and I have searched for them, and so you can organise those perhaps by interlibrary loan from your local library. So let's head to EBSCO eBooks. So once again, I know what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to put EBSCO eBooks into the search. Here it is here. Now I want to point something out. Next to the EBSCO eBooks is a research guide. So it's going to help you navigate your way through the world of ebooks. It does also talk about the EBSCO ebooks in particular. So if you are having some trouble, I suggest going straight to the research guides, and hopefully that will solve your problem. So let's head into EBSCO eBooks. So it's a great collection of non-fiction books. The books can be viewed online or on the EBSCO site here, or downloaded to view from your computer, tablet, smartphone, or e-reader. Downloaded ebooks can be accessed on your device for 5 days, and then the access will automatically expire and they'll disappear off your device. So let's go down the site here. So you can see you can browse by category. So if you don't actually know exactly what you're looking for, but you just want to have a quick look around, let's head to, we've covered cars, we've knitted, let's do cooking. And let's have a look what jumps out. The Little Library Cookbook. Let's have a look at that. So you see here, we've got the Little Library Cookbook. We've got an e-publication that we can click on here. Open that up. Slowly, and there we go. And then we can have a look at each section. So there's a few things that you can do. You can print out pages. Let's have a look at Midnight Feasts. So what we can do is we can print some pages. It'll automatically limit you to what you can print. So this will be all, it'll be what you can print under the Copyright Act, and that's usually the 10% or one chapter for research purposes. So it'll allow you to do a chapter or a section or a limited amount of pages, but it will tell you what that limit is. You can also sign in once again with a free EBSCO account. And so what you'll need to do there, then you'll be able to download offline to your device. And so when you're going into your EBSCO and creating your EBSCO account, it'll ask for some compatible software, and all that information is available on that research guide that I talked about before. So it'll sort of talk you through what to do and how to download that. So if we hit that download button, it'll ask me now to sign into the EBSCO account or to create an account. So this is where you would then create that. And as I mentioned, it's a free account. There is no charge involved. So it's just a matter of going through the process here, signing in, And as I mentioned, that material will be on your device for 5 days. Okay. So you can see here, there's quite a few other categories that you might be interested in: home and garden, etc. So crafts and collectibles. So there's quite a lot of resources in there that you can have a look at. So what I'm going to do now is I've shown you the e-resources themselves via the portal, but I want to talk a little bit about the catalogue. So I'll head back to the National Library homepage. So the catalogue is where you would search for material held at the National Library. It searches our entire collection and allows you to request items to read in our reading rooms or access digital material online. When I talked a bit before about the portal that you need to know which database you're searching for, if you are searching for an individual journal title, an individual ebook, etc., the catalogue is where you would search. So we're back on the home page and we're just going to head into the catalogue here. So the book that we looked at before was the Little Library Cookbook. So let's see what happens when we cook. Oops. We search for that here. So you can see our top result there. It's showing that it's available online only. So if we click onto that, and here it's telling us we can access it because we're physically here in the building. From home, you can see that little key symbol. You would need to log in, and you can see just across the top here in the top corner is the login button. That's where you put that very long number and then your family name, and then you'll be able to access that resource. So just 2 different ways to get to the same database. So we can search individually for items here, or we can go in and browse via the ebooks. So we've got a variety of digitised material in our collection other than ebooks. So we've also got digitised historical material or born digital material from our eDeposit service. So let's see how we can search for some of these things. So we'll search for gardening and we'll limit it to NLA digital material and see what we come back with. As you can see here, we've picked up some pictures as well. And here we've got every amateur's gardening guide. So let's go into that. So you can see here it's saying it's a National Library of Australia digitised item. So if we click on the link here, here it is here in Trove, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. And this will allow you to view the material. It'll also allow you to download the material. So you can see down the left-hand side here, the little arrow. We can download the entire and start the download there. I won't do that because I'll lock the computer up, but you can download that to a PDF. So if we did that same search for knitting, keeping it as NLA digital material, here's quite a few resources. So here we go, let's open this one up, the 1993 Lux book. So once again, National Library of Australia digitised item. If we click on that, and we can view it here once again. You may also come across material that states that it's accessible only in the National Library reading room. These are e-publications that have been submitted via our eDeposit system, and they're in copyright and the publisher has restricted access. So whilst here in the actual library you can have a look at those, we can't allow for those to be viewed by everyone else. So perfect. The one just above what we looked at is the Little Book of Knitting Wisdoms by Eliza Carpenter. So I'm not sure those readers out there that also enjoy knitting. There are a series of books by Rachel Herron, who has also written this title here, Rachel Herron down there, and she writes a series about knitters. And they're also farmers, but there are knitting patterns as part of the book. So you may want to look up, if you're a fan of both knitting and reading, look up Rachel Herron and have a look at that series. But you can see here it's saying to us, access is available in the National Library of Australia reading rooms. It would not be available to anyone else. But here I can just quickly open that up and we would then be able to provide access here, but it won't allow outside of the reading room. So if there is material that you were interested in that isn't available electronically, old recipes or car manuals, you can use our Copies Direct or our interlibrary loan service to do those. And I'll just go back to the home page. Wait for that to come. While I was researching this, I found quite a lot of things in our collection, in our physical collection, that a lot of people here are now going to go home and do some projects. So we found quite a lot of patterns and recipes. So if we go into the Using the Library, you can see Copies and Interlibrary Loan. Head to that page. It'll open up for us. So this will talk a bit about if you're not able to make it to the library here in Canberra, you can approach your local library and ask them for details about interlibrary loan. So we do library to library requests, but definitely your local library should be able to assist you with that interlibrary loan. We also do copying. So if you were after a particular page, a knitting pattern that you knew was in a physical item we had here in the library, you can use our Copies Direct system to make a copy of that material. Once again, there are copyright restrictions, but that'll all be explained to you. So there's quite a lot of information about Copies Direct, and that will then be mailed or emailed to you. That's up to you. So before we have some fun with Trove, let's take a quick break for questions. Judith, do we have some questions?
Yes, we got a couple.
Oh, fantastic.
So the first one was actually about the Haynes Manuals, and we did have someone who wanted to know if we would be adding any more manuals.
Oh, definitely. We started this in, I believe it was November, and in January they added, I think it was another 100 manuals. And when we sort of advertised it via our social media and via our e-news, they kept saying to us, oh, keep looking back because we're going to keep adding more and more. So as they become available, they will be added on there. They are also available, as I mentioned, as physical manuals that you can use Trove or our catalogue to search for as well. So if it's not on there, definitely jump on Trove or the catalogue.
Sounds fantastic.
Oh, it's a great resource.
And then we had a couple questions about the ebooks. Someone wanted just to clarify that you can download an ebook to the iPad.
Definitely to your device. Yep.
And once the loan period runs out, can you re-borrow it? Do you know?
You can re-borrow as long as no one else has requested it in the meantime.
And very last question, if the image that's available, I believe through our catalogue was what the question was more concerned with, the image or the article was out of copyright, can you download it and use?
So if the image within a publication, or?
I believe that would be the case, because I wasn't sure if there would be any restrictions around what you were using it for.
It does explain that it is for research purposes or private use. So if you did want to republish that, then you would need to put a request through to the Ask a Librarian page and discuss that further. So that'll be an intention to publish. And we do have some information on our website as well about that if you wanted to have a look at that.
And I lied. We did have one last question. Do you have an easy, handy guide for the costs for our Copies Direct?
Yeah, so let's head to Copies Direct. So this might be the easiest way for people to sort of have a look. So I'm just going to type in using a little magnifying glass here and go straight into Copies Direct. So let's see, how much do these copies cost? One of the frequently asked questions. So that'll then, here you go. And so it's going to depend on what sort of quality you would like, but you can see a rough estimation there. And I do believe they do quote prior to proceeding. So, but by all means, please have a look, jump on, and you can have a look to see what the prices would be. So I hope that answers those great questions.
It does. Thank you, Michaela.
Okay, how are we going for time? Perfect. So we're going to head to Trove, which everyone knows. And we're going to talk a bit about the Australian Women's Weekly. So the Australian Women's Weekly, iconic for recipes, for cakes, etc. So there's a couple of ways to get into the Women's Weekly. So you can see the Trove homepage here, and we can see we've got a Trove spotlight across the bottom here. So I'll come to that in a minute. We'll go into the search first. So we'll type in and you can see here the Australian Women's Weekly under the journals. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight to view online. And let's head in. So what we can do here is we can have a look at different years, browse through those. So let's head into, look at 1950. And what we can do here is we'll go to 1954. Let's look at, go to my mum's birthday, September 15. And we can actually go through and have a look at this as you would a normal magazine. So it's been digitized. So we can just browse through the pages and have a look at the brilliance that is the Women's Weekly. And so what you can find in here are quite a few recipes, knitting patterns, clothing patterns, etc., as well as some household hints, I'm sure. You can, I won't cover this in too much detail about the different things you can do, but you can download once again using the download button and then have a copy of what you're looking at there. But we do have a few webinars that cover Trove specifically, and we also have a Getting Started webinar that covers this as well, so I won't go into that too much. But we'll just go back into the Trove page and let's head into the featured site here. So here we have some topics, and we also have, you can see how other people are using the content that we have here. So I know that this is a very popular group. Just wait for that to have a look. We actually have one of our staff members here who has created the elephant. So we got to see one of the actual projects firsthand that she gave to her granddaughter, and apparently it's much loved. So this is one way to go through and see what you can do. I've personally gone through and I'm going to start knitting my dogs some jumpers, which I'm sure they'll be very, very happy with, as are these dogs here. So we'll just go back, we'll go out of Ravelry and we'll just have a look. So you can see here by topic, we've got some knitting patterns, etc. So there's one way to do that, search through there. Some recipes. We get a lot of Ask a Librarian requests here where people have said, I remember reading this particular recipe in one of the Women's Weekly, can you help us find it? And we love doing that as well. And usually we try and test out the recipes ourselves too. But I sort of thought I'd leave this one until last because I thought it's one you can have a lot of fun with. And we know that there definitely is quite a lot of content in there in what we do have digitized. So we're finishing up now, but I want to highlight some of our online resources that can actually help you a little bit further. I talked about a little bit at the beginning, but what I want to talk about, I'll just head back into the home page. Wait for that to load. Okay, so once again, back into using the library. And we can see down here, we've got some research tools and resources. So we have research guides, and we saw that there was one for ebooks. We have an A to Z listing as you scroll down through here. So there's quite a few different things that you can have a look at and they can assist you. There's the ebooks that we talked about previously. We have one specifically for newspapers, for gazettes, family history, etc. And you can also filter by topic depending on what you want to look at there. Another thing that is going to be useful to you is frequently asked questions. Usually find a lot of people have the same sort of questions, so we've popped some little things under here to help everyone out as well. So that's just the FAQs there. The main thing that I want to talk about is the Ask a Librarian service. So if you want to get in touch with us and you'd like us to spend up to an hour doing a little bit of research for you on a question that you might have, it could be, can you please find a knitting pattern? Can you please help me find a car manual? Can you, just help me with my general research? Then please, by all means, pop that Ask a Librarian request in, and we generally are replying within a 5 to 7 business days. So please send your questions through. And the last thing I'm going to show you that I've talked about many times throughout this is webinars. So you can view our webinars via our YouTube channel, or if we forget how I navigate it everywhere, I'll show you using this lovely little search here. We just put the word in webinar, hit search, and you can see it thinking. Here it is. So joining a webinar, which we'll look at today, past webinar recordings down the side here. So these will open up and we'll be able to see the last lot of webinars that we've done. Very slow internet today. I do apologise that we're all watching a blank screen. I assure you they are there. I'm just going to go back into the home page. That's not going to load, but the past webinar recordings are there. Let's see if that, there we go. And you can see our YouTube channel for the National Library of Australia. And then we've got one dedicated to ebooks. And then we've also got some Trove ones there. So please head back to those and view those, and you'll find that today's webinar will also be located there in the next little while. So that's a thank you from me. I'm going to now pass you on to Judith, but thank you again.
Thank you very much, Michaela. We might leave the camera off just for a bit, just because if we do get any last minute questions towards the end that are absolutely burning to be asked while we're still present and correct online, we might use this for a little bit of a test run. But I just wanted to end this session by saying thank you all for your participation. We will have to end the session very shortly, but if you do have any further questions, please do feel free to continue using our Q&A session or our chat. If it's not something we can answer straight away, then absolutely. What you should see in front of the screen, see on the screen in front of you rather, is the link to our Ask a Librarian service. And we will have librarians and other library staff members willing and waiting to answer all of those inquiries. So the recordings and the links from today's session will be made available as soon as we have them ready to go. We do also have a feedback survey that we would really love you to fill out. I'll post it in the chat window in just a moment, but in case you don't have time to fill it out now, a link to the survey will also be sent out in the email tomorrow. Your feedback is really invaluable as we continue to develop our learning program. So thank you all again and have a wonderful afternoon.